Welcome back to the Wealth Easy Show, where we talk all things wealth, health, and real estate. Today, we have a real special treat for you. We're going to be talking multifamily, and joining me is a 15-year real estate veteran. He is the Chief Operating Officer at CPI Capital, a firm that provides investment opportunities by acquiring and improving underperforming apartment buildings. He is the host of a cable TV real estate show, a podcast, and is the founder of the Multifamily Conference. Please welcome to the show, Seth Ferguson.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. 2024 is going to be big for everybody.
I think so. Do you think it's too late now to say Happy New Year? Like when's that cutoff when you stop saying Happy New Year?
You know what? Honestly, I'm sure you're the same way, but we start planning the next year like in Q3 of the previous year. So we're already like, as soon as New Year hits, we're already like balls to the wall going for it.
So I'm really excited to talk about multifamily because a lot of the time I have real estate guys on, and last week we had Jazz Takar on, and he's a big real estate guy, but this is the first time we're actually getting someone and we're going to talk multifamily. And this is kind of actually my favorite thing to discuss because, I'm in the real estate business too. I own some real estate, investment properties, but not multifamily. So this is your specialty. And this is what I really want to get into and have the listeners hear about. Tell us, what is the real big difference between owning investment properties like single family dwellings versus multiple units? Because a lot of our listeners, they're investors, but they're not in, apartments. They don't have something that's got 10, 12, 40 units. You specialize in apartment buildings. What really is that big differential?
The big differential is scale. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. When you are dealing with apartment buildings, you're dealing with multiple units, like you mentioned, 20, 50, 100, 200 units at a time. It's the scale that really that moves the needle for you, because once you have scale, now you have different systems, and that gives you so many different benefits. And we can get into that because I started out in the single family space and then I made the transition over, but it's really scale.
Yeah. So when you're going and you're looking to identify a building, what are some of the characters? Because, I listen to a lot of Grant Cardone, and I've read his book, The 10X Mentor, 3 times. And I've watched some of the stuff, and he can just go walk around and look at a property, and he can identify things right away. I mean, obviously that takes a lot of time, but for the listeners that are thinking about getting into multifamily, what are some of the big things, like how do you identify an undervalued building?
Yeah, you're looking for a couple different things, because remember, we have 2 value levers that we can pull when we're dealing with apartment buildings. One is physical improvements. So those are the renovations, the physical work you can do. And then you have operational efficiencies. So that can encompass raising the rents, changing the branding, hiring new staff, building back utilities. The list goes on and on and on. So when we're walking properties and even looking at deals in the initial first pass, we're looking for, hey, how can I either do physical renovations, improvements to the property, or how can I change the operational efficiency of the building? So that's the nuts and bolts of the property. But quite honestly, when our team's walking properties, we either like it or we don't. So as soon as you walk onto a good property, everybody's like, oh, this is a good property, because you just feel it. So that's the intangible side that doesn't really come down to numbers. And then obviously you have to make sure the numbers work after that.
Are you a big fan of buying something, rehabbing it, and flipping it, or buying it, doing some improvements, and holding on to it and let it appreciate, raise the rents, raise the cap, and then letting it go? What's your philosophy on that?
Man, this could be a full hour on its own. This is a great question. So there's 4 main strategies when it comes to commercial real estate, right? You can do a core strategy, which is where you're buying a premium flagship asset in a premium location in a major metro center, and then you're holding it for the long term. You can do core plus, where you're doing a little bit of work, maybe changing the awnings, but it's basically a core asset. Then you have value add, which is our preferred strategy, where we're going in, we're finding an undervalued asset that has some things that you can fix in it. And we're doing those fixes. We're driving up the value of the asset, but then we're looking to exit. And then there's opportunistic, where maybe there was a fire, there was a flood, there's something drastically wrong with the property, huge vacancy issues. So those are the 4 main strategies that you're using. With us, value add is really what we're looking to do, because I find that's the perfect balance between risk exposure and also making sure you get the returns you're looking for, a healthy, sizable return. But to answer your question about going into hold periods, and then we can get into velocity of capital and all that cool stuff. What we're really interested in is the velocity of capital, because it's not just return on investment, it's return on equity. So when you have, let's use an example. Let's say we buy an asset and we invest X amount of dollars into it, but now we do some improvements. We've actually generated equity, the sweat equity in the property. So it's not, you shouldn't be looking at, okay, well, this is my return on my initial investment. Well, how much equity do you have wrapped up? And a lot of people don't recognize that that untapped equity can sometimes be put to work in other places. So it makes sense to sell, take that out, and then put it into a new project. So you get that velocity, if that makes sense.
Yeah. How do you determine what amount of money, like are you going in and you're looking at maybe redoing, say, each unit, you're looking at maybe redoing the floors, new cabinets, new countertops, that sort of stuff, maybe throw some lipstick on it.
Yeah.
At what point do you estimate the amount of money that you're willing to spend on each unit to raise the rent? Because obviously in Ontario, we have rent controls. So there's only a maximum amount that you could actually raise. How do you determine what amount to spend?
Yeah. And this is where knowing your comparables is crucial. Because you always want to find improvements that you can make that have already been proven in a marketplace. Mm-hmm. So you never want to acquire a property and just go balls to the wall and just put out all sorts of money into it if it hasn't been proven. So we're looking for, like you said, lipstick things. So countertops, cupboards, the boxes, vanities, flooring, paint, the basic kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. We're not into those heavy renovations. Maybe take out a wall here and there. That's really all we're looking to do. But we're looking to take an asset where maybe it's $200 under market rent. We're looking to take it and find proven comparables, proven comps where, okay, they've done X, Y, and Z here, and now they're achieving this rent premium. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Do you try to find buildings that are maybe low vacancy or high? So what I mean by that is, are you looking for buildings that maybe have, say, an 85% vacancy versus, say, a 95% vacancy?
Well, it really depends. Every deal's unique. So we look at deals every single week. And sometimes, what you find when you get into vacancy issues, if it's a management play, perfect, we'll take a look at it, 100%. But we've got one right now where we're just about to go under contract with it, and the vacancy's good. Like, we're in the 90s already.
Okay.
Which shows like the demand's there. Now we can just take it to the next level with those lipstick improvements, some operational efficiencies, that kind of thing. The thing we stay away from is those opportunistic plays where, hey, it's 40% occupied, they just had a fire. Some people have appetite for that type of risk, but that's not really what our investors are looking for.
Hey everyone, it's John. I just wanted to thank you for being here, and I would ask that you please subscribe to the show by just clicking the subscribe button right here. I'd really appreciate it. It helps grow the show so we can get even more successful guests on the program to help you. If you're already subscribed, a huge thank you. When you subscribe, you're going to get access to the program before anybody else does. So if you would, just click subscribe right here. Thanks so much, and welcome back to the Wealth Eazy Show. Everything always comes down to location.
Always.
When you're looking at a building, are you doing any research and finding out things like, what is the current job market? Are there any large multinationals? Like, is there a Google coming in, or is there an Amazon coming in? Do you look for those types of statistics that may drive up demand in that area for a building?
100%. With us, we have a full-time acquisitions guy, so that's all he does.
Yeah.
So when we do our market selection, we're looking for the key economic drivers. What type of job creation is happening? Who are the major employers? Is there a diversity in terms of the employment base? Is it all one sector, all agricultural, or do we have tech? Do we have government? Do we have military? Like all healthcare? Mm-hmm. We're 100% looking at that at a macro level. And on a micro level, neighborhood type of level, okay, well, where's the property located? What's around it? Are there nice houses around? What's the average income in a 1 mile radius, 3 mile radius? What types of stores are around? Is it a Whole Foods or a Walmart? Is it is it Dunkin' Donuts, or is it a Starbucks? Mm-hmm. That type of stuff. And then we're looking, when we're walking the property, what types of cars are parked in the parking lot? Is everybody home during the day? If so, that's a red flag, because
Yeah.
why aren't they working? And now with virtual stuff, it's changed a little bit, but you're looking for all this type of stuff when you're walking the property. What do the tenants look like? What's your feel? Are they well dressed? Are they not well dressed? Like, you're just trying to get a feel for who's at the property, and if it makes sense, if it makes sense, if you get a good feeling, then you keep going. But sometimes you walk a property and you just get the EBGBs, you can call it, and you just know something's off.
Those are some actually really good indicators that doesn't even cost you anything. Like you
No.
said, is there a lot of cars in the parking lot during the day? It means no one's working.
Yeah.
What kind of cars? Like, how are the people? Like, do you look at rent roll?
Oh, 100%. So with apartment buildings, you're looking at what's called the T12.
Yeah.
And that gives you the last 12 months of financials for the property. So you're looking at for some red flags like bad debt. So people not paying, late payments. That's a big thing too, because those are the biggest indicators that you have a tenant issue. When you have people not paying, they're skipping town, and then they're always late. So those are some of the first things we always look for. And then we're also looking at, if they're now selling the property, did you have a huge spike in occupancy a couple months before they listed?
Ghost tenants, right?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Ghost tenants, or they're just filling any body with a pulse in there just to fill it up. All these kinds of things. And then there's even there's always horror stories about one seller using another property's rent roll for the current property and just changing the name at the top and just all sorts of stuff. But so you have to do your homework.
Yeah.
But there's no substitute for actually walking the property. A lot of people now with the internet think that, oh yeah, I can just buy from my house. No, you actually physically have to go to the asset, walk it, because looking at pictures, like, this, right? Looking at pictures is one thing. Actually being there physically, you get the feel of it. Very, very different.
Yeah, no, 100%. What markets do you feel are some really good opportunities? Do you just focus in Canada, or are you in the US also?
Yeah, with CPI, we're strictly focused in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
So we do most of our hunting in Florida, Texas, Arizona as well. That's where we're doing the bulk of our work. I've got friends who are crushing it in the apartment space in basically almost every market in Canada and all across the U.S. So, for the U.S., like, we went there for a number of specific reasons, like the size of the market, that kind of, and we can get into that as well if you want. But I don't think, in terms of multifamily, there's so many different ways you can slice a cake. Location matters, but it really doesn't. You just have to tweak your strategy and how you approach it, if that makes sense, because you can make money anywhere with real estate.
Do you think Florida has run its course? I mean, it's, if they look back at the pandemic, I mean, a lot of the blue states, people were escaping the lockdowns and going into Florida and driving up home prices, driving up rent prices. I know Grant Cardone has a big foot in Florida. Do you think it's hit its peak, or do you think there's still a lot more opportunity in Florida?
Yeah, but we feel there's a lot of runway left. Like, we're looking at it from a 30-year kind of horizon, and it's very similar to Ontario, could say, where you have so much demand there for the rental housing product. You could keep building, and it's just insatiable. And when we look at, we can talk government policy as well, where
that plays a major role.
Huge
Government policies.
Well, just you look at Canada during the lockdowns.
Yeah,
there's probably 10 people I can name off that moved out of Ontario or out of Canada and moved to Florida that I know, who just packed up and said, screw this, and now they're doing real estate down there.
And Alberta
as well. Yeah. So policy, you look at tax policy, you look at just housing, landlord tenant laws, right? All that kind of stuff. It does play a big role in that. But yeah, in terms of demand, you think about it. Right now, I walked in. We're in January. It's pretty cold outside. Or you could deal with the sun. The nicer weather is fun. Plus, I like the garden style type of apartments where you have pools, you have green space, you have some trees rather than mid-rise or high-rise. And the warm weather, your pool's open all year round. It's just a lot more fun.
Do you find when you're looking at buildings in, say, Florida or Texas, Are there different aspects of that building that you have to take in consideration versus a building in Ontario where we hit sometimes minus 30 degrees, or if you're in Alberta right now, minus 45 degrees?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. I remember there was one condo development here in Ontario on the GTA. They actually they used the same building style as the builder was in the States as well. Huge issues when it came to ice. So they basically had to reface the entire building, and it cost millions of dollars to do. But yeah, what we're looking for, obviously in Florida, floodplains. If you're close to the coast with the hurricanes coming through, obviously you want to make sure the building's sturdy. And also, down there you get some heat. So, wood frame versus concrete, that plays a factor in there as well. But then it's just like if you're in Edmonton, you're going to make sure that the building, can handle the extreme cold weather too. And so you always look for different things. But yeah, in Florida, you're looking for floodplains, just, what happens there. And then obviously that impacts your insurance, which is also another, challenge that we have right now. And then just how it handles the heat.
There's been a lot of talk for several years now that Florida is sinking. And, these buildings on the ocean front, they're going to be all underwater. And, I heard, do you know Dan Pena?
Yeah.
I love that guy. He's got no filter.
Yeah.
He's the best. He was at I guess he was doing a speaking engagement, and someone came up and said, "Oh, Florida's going, how do you promote this stuff? And Florida's going underwater." He stood up, he said, "Listen, if Florida was going underwater, these fucking banks would not be financing these buildings. They have the inside." He goes, "You're full of shit." And he goes, "I wish I got ahead of who was the former VP?
Al Gore.
Al Gore."
Yeah.
He goes, "I wish I beat him to the punch. It's the greatest scam ever. This whole climate change thing and all this stuff." He goes, "I would have made millions." He goes, "Good for him."
Yeah.
So he's got a real good point when it comes to the banks. Most of them have a real good insight. I mean, if you're financing $500 million or $1 billion, I mean, I'm looking at these new buildings going up, like the Bugatti building, in Sunny Isles. You got the new Porsche building, all these great buildings that are going up. Obviously, Florida can't be going under, like sinking, if they're putting up these hundreds of millions of dollars. What's your thoughts on that?
Portion of Florida sinks, the world's fucked. Because think about how many other places are underwater at that point. You look at the Netherlands in terms of their damming and everything that they're doing there for that. So is that maybe a 300-year concern, depending on what happens? Yeah, but I'll be living on Mars. I'm with Elon. I'm going there, right? But
get your deposit down.
Yeah, exactly. Our main focus is on Florida sinking. It's okay. Is it in a floodplain? What's the impact there? How does that impact insurance? Those are the main concerns right now. We are not concerned about Florida sinking.
Yeah.
Like that's not the concern. Plus, like you look at everywhere there's issues in terms of like flooding or even water supply, but like in the States, you've got the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, very smart people. Like they're handling water supply issues in a couple states and all that kind of stuff. Very smart people, way above my pay grade.
You feel the hurricanes are getting stronger, like more fierce, like down in Florida?
For sure. You look at the major weather events, and that's why right now in Florida you have insurance costs have gone up.
But it's huge costs.
Significantly. So that we've got some strategies that we're using right now where we have a competitive advantage in terms of offering on properties, because we're able to do insurance one way because of kind of what we're doing with it, which gives us an advantage when it comes to best and final. So
how are you finding, look, you got to insure the building.
Yeah.
Are you finding that the cost of this insurance justifies, purchasing, say, in the state of Florida versus Texas?
Yeah, well, there's pros and cons to all sorts of markets, and then people even mention the Midwest as well. So it really comes down to, hey, what markets are you really confident in for the long term? Mm-hmm. Where do you feel the jobs are going to be created in the long term? Where's everybody moving to? Where's the where do you have that young population moving in who's prime working age, who's going to be driving that economy? That's really what we're looking for. Insurance costs, yeah. Have they, tripled in some cases? Absolutely. Have they killed a lot of deals? Yes. going back over the past even year and a half, as the market has kind of shifted, we would make an offer on one property, the seller would stay firm, market continue to shift, they come back to us, and now it doesn't work because of insurance. So that's certainly one challenge that we're working on. With our team, like we've got a couple ways to get around that, so it doesn't really impact us as hard as it would some other operators. But for sure, like it's something you have to pay attention to.
How important is cap rate when looking at a building?
For
the listeners who don't understand what cap rate, maybe you can explain what a cap rate is.
In plain speak, it's really how much money, how much an investor is willing to pay you for each dollar of NOI, net operating income, the property produces. Because with commercial assets, you're buying real estate, but you're really buying the business that happens to be tied to real estate. So you're basically paying the income that it produces. So with cap rates, some people are of the school, I only buy a building at X cap rate. We find when you get into the larger apartment buildings, like it's not, there's the market cap, but we're looking for the rent premium. How can we grow the rents? What are the opportunities to drive value in the asset? The cap rate is basically secondary or tertiary to that. When we're doing the underwriting and modeling, we're looking at, okay, well, what's the market going to be like in 5 years? What's our best estimate? What's our worst case scenario? What do we think? And cap rate plays a factor in that. But are we only buying buildings within a certain cap? No, that's not. We're looking for quality assets where we can drive the value, use those two value levers, and have a solid business plan in it. We're not buying based on cap rate.
So if someone's looking at a building, and I get this from clients who ask me to look for multifamily stuff, say in Alberta, or say it's in, the one thing is, well, what's the cap rate on it? I don't want nothing below a 5 cap. Yeah, and it's like in Toronto, I think if you had a 4, if you find something with a 4 cap, you're doing really good in Toronto with a 4.
And I think that's just there's different levels and of, I guess, like you could call it like sophistication in terms of looking at deals. And some of my best friends who are crushing it in the space, they don't like it, doesn't even factor, and they're at billions of dollars in terms of AUM, and it doesn't really factor in. They're looking for, hey, how can I take the property from this level to this level? And quite honestly, if the cap rate's lower, that means there's more money at the end of the day, because each dollar of NOI produced is worth more. So like most people watch Shark Tank. And, they're used to, the sharks paying a multiple of the revenue produced. But with cap rates, it's an inverse of a multiple. For each dollar of NOI produced, like as you go up the scale, it becomes more and more valuable, that dollar. So if you're comparing a 4 cap versus a 6 cap, huge difference. Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. Share with my listeners, a success story that you found an underperforming apartment building and you're able to turn it around. I'm sure you have many.
Yeah. So right now with CPI, we're just under 1,000 units. And the next deal we're working on right now will take us over. So we're really pumped for that. I'll talk about the one we're currently doing right now. So we're about to release it. We're just waiting for some due diligence items right now. This is, let's call it low hundreds in terms of unit size. And there's actually an interesting component in the deal where there is a HOA. So a handful of units are still owned by individual owners, but like we've got 100 and something units just owned by the property itself. So part of our business plan is to collapse the HOA and take over those assets. So now we'll be 100% owned, and we would already have control of the HOA, but now we have full control of the entire property. And that's a huge part of the business plan. Plus, we have the lipstick renos. We're able to go in, do the work, drive up the rents, because the rents are underperforming significantly. And I think out of all the deals we've looked at in the past, I'd say 4 or 5 months, this one's our favorite. And we were awarded the deal. So we're just waiting on some due diligence. But yeah, in terms of the business plan, this is like a 5-year hold. So we go in, year 1 is the HOA issue. We're doing the lipstick renos. And then year 2, 3 is managing, and then 4 and 5, then we're looking at exit options.
And for people listening who don't know what HOA is, it's a homeowners association.
That's right.
And you don't get those really so much in Canada, but in the States, definitely homeowners associations do exist, and they basically have rules and bylaws of things that you can and cannot do, and they make sure that I know because I had a home in Sarasota, Florida. I spent my winters for 6 years, and the homeowners association would come, and if you don't have your lawn trim done a certain way, or if your garbage is out too long, or there's a car on the road, they come out and they give you warning, so they kind of govern it. Do you feel that you're looking for buildings that don't have HOA?
Yeah. So generally speaking, we're looking at assets where, it's like, let's say it's a 120 unit apartment building. It's just, it's one sole owner. There's no HOA. This one's a little unique where it used to be all individual titles. So the best example would be like a Canadian equivalent. It's like a condo association kind of thing. Yeah. But the vast majority, like 96 or 97% of the units are owned by the one owner, and then we just have a handful left over, like the legacy individual owners. So we're not exclusively looking for those opportunities, but this deal, it was presented to us. It hit all the boxes for what we're looking for. The sellers are, like they're on the same page in terms of where the market is, everything lined up, and we're able to hit our targets for our investors. So we pulled the trigger. So
how do you get these deals? Like, do you have like other realtors and other people that just know you, they're bringing you these deals, or you have guys that are actively looking for stuff? How do you find these deals?
Yeah, so Paul is our acquisitions director. So his full-time job is hunting deals. So that's what he does full-time, which is he's an awesome team member on the team. And but there's a couple different things. So through your connections, so lawyers, accountants, they're like, hey, I actually know somebody who's in a bit of trouble. Are you looking for this type of asset? Perfect. There was actually, I think it was a three pack or a 4-pack of properties a number of months ago where we got an inside scoop just through a legal connection that nobody else knew the property was going to be up for sale. And then, obviously you have brokers. So with commercial real estate, you're generally going direct to the listing broker. So broker relationships are huge. Lender relationships are huge. And also property management relationships are huge because they're the ones managing all the properties. So they know who's looking at selling. They know who's doing what for what renos, what went well, what rents are being achieved, what they would do differently next time. So all those different, like I always talk about the deal flow funnel, and you always want multiple avenues of getting into that top of funnel.
What's your sweet spot? The amount of units? Is there like a minimum that you won't go past, or a maximum, or what do you find is your sweet spot?
Yeah, our buy box right now is generally like 100 to 250, 300 units. That's kind of what we're looking for.
Good size.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the goal is to scale as we keep growing to scale into the even larger portfolio sales. But right now, we're 100 to 200 units.
You mentioned property management,
yes.
And sometimes they come. How important is the property management to the deal? Do you find sometimes you go in and you fire them and you bring in all your new guys?
Yeah. So generally speaking, when you acquire an asset, you're putting in your own people. And this is why with apartment buildings, you want the closing date pretty tight. Because think of it this way, if you're managing the property, you're losing your job in 2 months. So your care factor naturally goes down. So you don't want to have like a 5-month closing because that property is not going to be managed as it once was. So generally speaking, with few exceptions, you'll keep the management company, but generally you're going to bring in your own people. If the leasing agent's really good, if you have a dedicated leasing agent, you'll keep them on because they know the property if their numbers are there. But sometimes we walk a property, we meet the manager on site, and it's like, we're making a change if we get this one. Because you just get the feel, right? Maybe not professional or whatnot.
Well, you can just see the appearance of the property too. He's not taking care of it.
Yeah. And sometimes the manager will take you around the property when you're doing the site walk, and it's like, nah, it's not a fit. So you just know, hey, when you're doing your business plan, we need to find a new manager. Yeah.
What size of a down payment versus say in Canada or the US? Is the down payment pretty much the same? Because definitely you're not putting 10% down and you're not putting 20. Is it fine? You got to generally put about 30-35% down on something like this?
Yeah, it
to
really
get financing?
Yeah, so it really depends. In the US, you've got some different options that what we have here in Canada, but generally speaking, like when you're buying larger apartment buildings, you're not going to leverage it to the hilt. That's not what you're going to do. So we're aiming to go in at maybe leverage to 70%, maybe sometimes even 65%, depending on the underwriting. Maybe we'll push to 75% leveraged, but we're not talking like a little bit of equity in there because you want security and you want and your investors expect that as well. If somebody's investing with you, you're not like they wouldn't want to risk their money in a 100% finance deal or a 95% finance deal. Like that's the risk exposure there is pretty big, and the lender's not really in favor of that either. Plus, that's going to hurt your debt service coverage ratio, your DSCR, and most lenders are going to want that wiggle room in case something happens, the revenue drops. They need to make sure that they're able to get paid on the debt side. But in Canada here, CMHC, they have the Select program now, and so you can get some pretty attractive financing options, long amortization, low equity, up to as low as 5%. Even though in practice it can be a little bit higher, but they make you jump through a whole lot of hoops to get it.
I'm also in the mortgage business, and I get a lot of, I do a ton of mortgages for single family homes. And the underwriting is very different. I mean, when you're looking to buy a single family home, they look at your borrowing capacity.
Yes. Yep.
Now, explain what the underwriting process is like on commercial.
Yeah, so on the commercial side, the asset is really at the forefront, not necessarily the borrower. So like you said, when you buy a house, and if somebody comes to you, they need you to help them out with the mortgage. It's like, okay, well, what's your income, and then what are your expenses, and this is what you qualify for. With a commercial asset, obviously, it's a little bit more complicated. So they're looking at your business plan of the property, because the lender's going to look at your underwriting. The insurance guys are looking at all that stuff. The broker's looking at your underwriting. The seller oftentimes wants to see your underwriting. So it's just there's more work that goes into it, and they want to understand your business plan. What do you see in the property? Where do you want to take it? What's your experience level? Now, that being said, especially when you're dealing with larger loans, generally you're going to bring on somebody called a KP, a key principal, if the principals of the company don't have the net worth. So if we're seeking a $50 million loan, my net worth is not $50 million. Maybe one day, but right now, not even close. So we seek out a key principal who has the balance sheet. And so the lender wants to make sure that every lender is a little bit different, but let's say you're looking for a loan of $50 million. They're looking for somebody with a balance sheet of at least $50 million, if not exceeding that, to sign and guarantee the loan.
They don't only look at, say, the asset and what the property is producing. They also look at a principal, and they want to see that kind of same net worth as a guarantor.
Generally,
not just
yes.
the building.
No. Like there's always exceptions, and it's very nuanced. But generally speaking, the lender with a larger purchase price, they're looking for a KP with that net worth, and obviously they're looking at the team as well. What kind of experience does the GP team have? What's their track record? What kind of experience does the property manager have? Like they want to make sure that if they're lending you the money, you're not going to botch it and kill the deal. So they're looking for competence, experience, and there's recourse versus non-recourse opportunities where are the personal assets up for grabs if something goes wrong. That would be recourse. If not, that's a non-recourse loan. But yeah, generally you're going to need a key principal if you're doing some larger stuff. And then there are smaller community banks that may not have may not require that. There's several where they can finance it without having the KP. It really depends.
You talked about your investors. I know there's several different ways that people are thinking about getting into this and may not have the down payment or themselves, but there's other ways they can create, to say, a syndicate mortgage. They can do crowdfunding. They can do. What are some of the ways that someone who's thinking about getting into multifamily, they can raise money to leverage themselves into something like this.
Yeah, 100%. And before we get into that, I'll just say, if you're looking at raising money, speak with a securities lawyer. You just go on social media every day, and there's people who are on the wrong side of the legislations, and they're going to get themselves in trouble. So, but yeah, if you're looking at raising money, if the deal's smaller and you're only looking for a handful of people, some sort of joint venture partnership works really well, where maybe one person finds the deal, one person can manage it, one person can sign for the loan, and one person's bringing the cash. That's the real estate matrix. Well, I call it the real estate matrix, the 4 components of every deal. You need the deal, the financing, the management, and the equity. So if you have 4 partners, everybody brings a piece, perfect. And then you can slice and dice it from there. But if you're looking at raising larger amounts of money, the syndication model works really well. It gives you some flexibility in terms of shares and voting rights and how you structure things. You can get a little bit more complex with it. But syndication is really a Wall Street construction, and Wall Street does one thing really, really well, which is raise a whole lot of money and deploy it efficiently. So, when applied to real estate, you can raise a large amount of money, deploy it efficiently into a deal, and the structures, afford the passive investors, the LPs, some extra protections in terms of liabilities and stuff like that too. So, if you're raising a lot of money, do the syndication approach. Your lawyer's going to thank you, and obviously, when you get proper legal advice, they'll steer you in the right way, so you don't get in trouble. Like some people end up, they end up in a bad spot because they did not listen to their lawyers.
Do you think people that are just going to go out and just do a raise, should they set up a limited liability corp and have a general partner in that?
Yeah, so this is where your lawyer is going to help advise you in terms of how you're going to structure it, whether you're on the Canadian side of the border, on the U.S. side of the border. But yeah, like you want to make sure you're doing everything above board. So yeah, just if you need to raise money, even though you don't think you need to talk with a lawyer, spend the $500, $1,000, spend a couple hours with them, get the advice, and they'll tell you exactly how to do it. And the benefits of doing it this way, the benefits of doing it that way, because you'll have a couple different options. Just listen to your lawyer.
Yeah. I always say CYA, cover your ass.
Yeah, cover your ass. Yeah.
Get the legal advice. I mean, the $5,000 to sit down with a lawyer is probably going to be well worth instead of getting sued for millions.
Oh man, or end up in jail. Like there's so many situations over the past couple of years of people getting nailed, and it's, when you look at it, like it shouldn't be that way. Like it's so easy to get legal advice, but every day, you go on Instagram or on Facebook, people are breaking the law, but posting things, guaranteeing returns, trying to raise money, in a public forum when they don't have a public offering, like all this kind of stuff. So don't do it. Talk with a lawyer.
What would you be your advice for someone who's thinking about getting into multifamily? Where would you say they should start? Like what amount of units do you think would be a good start for someone just to build the experience before they start moving up into the bigger stuff?
Yeah, so this is one of the things I wish I did differently in real estate. If I could go back in a time machine, I'd tell myself to go bigger off the bat. The reason is there's more meat on the bone. It's more of an exciting deal, and chances are you can bring on some partners to help you. So like I always make the comparison, is a smaller deal riskier or a bigger deal? Most people would say, well, the big deal is too risky. I'm just starting out. I'll do the smaller deal. But think about it this way. On the larger deal, your cash flow is going to be better. So you have more wiggle room for mistakes, and you will make mistakes. You can afford to bring on a partner who's done it before. With a small deal, you probably can't because there's no money left over. So another benefit to the bigger deal, you're going to get better lending terms with the bigger deal. So that's going to improve your cash flow and the stability of the property. You're going to be able to weather some storms. So one tenant moves out, the small deal that has a big impact on your revenue. Larger deal, you absorb things a little bit better. Like the list goes on. So if I could go back in time, I would tell myself, just think way, way bigger. The issue I had was, I didn't understand what was out there. So I didn't realize that there were trillions of dollars looking for a home in real estate. I didn't realize that you could use these structures to deploy capital. So I think, when people are starting out, it's just you don't know what you don't know. So educate yourself first, understand the game you're playing, don't reinvent the wheel because somebody's already figured it out and made all the mistakes. Don't reinvent the wheel. and just model success. So find somebody who's done it successfully and model exactly what they did.
I think that's really good advice. Don't try this on your own if you haven't done it. Partner up with someone who has the experience. You know, be an equity lender. You know, be an equity partner.
Yeah.
And learn it and then build together. I love, you know, and what you talked about, you would do things bigger. Is like Grant Cardone says, go big or go bigger.
Yeah, exactly. 100%, right? And you know, you think about all the different ways you can add value in a deal. So let's say I had a cousin of mine actually sent me a message on Instagram asking what he should do. I told him he should find the most successful real estate investor within a couple hours drive and work with him for free for a couple years. Because you're going to learn all the systems, you're going to learn the business inside and out, you're going to see what actually happens. Once you've learned the systems, you just go out on your own, you replicate the systems, you add your own twist on it. Like you look at the best companies out there that churn out startups. People go work for them, they learn the playbook, and then they go start on their own. The mistake I made was I tried figuring it out on my own, which was dumb when you think about it, because there's so many people who have already figured it out. Like real estate's been around for thousands and thousands of years. It's not rocket science. Like the formula is pretty simple. It's just the nuances that you have to pick up.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Let's talk multifamily conference.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I was on your link last night. You made some big announcements. How did you come up with the idea to be the founder and create such an amazing and growing every year? I mean, I was at it last year. I was front row and center.
Yeah.
You couldn't miss me.
You were well dressed.
Yes.
Yeah, well dressed.
And I see it's growing. What made you think of developing this? I mean, that's a huge risk, because I saw how big it was last year. Thousands of people. You had the whole North Hall of the convention center. I mean, that's a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
And kudos to you for having the balls to take that leap of faith and that risk. So what made you just think that I'm going to develop this?
Frustration. Yeah. So I'll put it this way. If I knew how hard it would be, I don't think I would have done it. Okay. Like it was my ignorance was helpful there. And it was really, I remember at the start of the lockdown, I was in my then girlfriend's condo watching Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary was grinding somebody for a deal. I don't know what it was, but I just turned to her and said, you know what, I'm going to have Kevin at a real estate conference. Because I remember when I was making the transition from single family homes to multifamily, I was pretty frustrated at the lack of quality education and knowledge out there. Yeah, there were a couple options. I always tell the story of I bought this like $1,000 course and they mailed me an actual binder and it was just flipping through the pages. And for I think it was like $2,000. Are you kidding me? And I was looking for help and I couldn't find it. So that was always a big frustration of mine. So when I started building out the conference, I said, okay, I'm going to make this for who I used to be, but also for the top producers as well. So like at the conference, we have many different layers to it. It's like an onion. So, you know, we have people who are over $1 billion in AUM. They come and they get something out of the conference. But then we also have brand new beginners come and they get something different. So a lot of thought goes into making sure that we have those multiple layers hit.
So last year you had Grant Cardone.
Yep.
You had Alex Rodriguez.
Yep.
I was a VIP ticket holder.
Yes.
I got to go to the VIP parties, the networking events. They were all fabulous. Got to meet like-minded people, which was really cool. And I got to meet Alex Rodriguez and have a fireside chat with Grant Cardone. You made a big announcement last night of the speakers for 2024. Why don't you tell us who's coming?
We did. Well, I left on a cliffhanger for the last one.
You did for the last one.
I got in trouble. But yeah, so this year, Robert Herjavec. So we went back to the Shark Tank.
Canadian.
Yeah, Canadian. So Robert Herjavec is coming out. Kevin O'Leary was fantastic our first year, so we went back to the tank. And then the second speaker is Jordan Belfort, author of Way of the Wolf, sales trainer extraordinaire. So with Jordan Belfort, he's running a workshop just for our VIP tickets on improving our capital raising conversations. How do we better close? How can we improve our pitches? Robert's running a special sessions for VIPs on the Sunday now too. And then we've got the third speaker that I can't say just yet, but the ladies are going to be pretty happy with who we have.
And for people who don't know who Jordan Belfort is, if anyone has watched The Wolf of Wall Street, it was based on his character, his life.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a pretty interesting story. And, he said that that's as crazy as the movie was, real life was even crazier. So,
I can just imagine.
yeah. Yeah. I'll have to ask him backstage.
Yeah. So you've got several levels
Yeah.
of fees or costs that people can pay. Would
Yeah.
you talk about those levels and what they currently are, because they are going to go up. There's a deal going on right now, but they will be going up.
Yeah, for sure. And, we have to get you your affiliate link so everybody can click your link when this goes live.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got really 3 ticket levels. And I should just preface it by saying on the conferences on the 24th, 25th, and 26th of May. So what we do is on the Friday, we have a workshop. And last year we maxed out capacity in the room. We weren't expecting that many people for the workshop. So this year we have it split into 2 tracks. We have a beginner. So that's perfect if you're just getting started. We'll get you the foundation. And then we have an advanced track. So we've got an elite ticket. So that gets you in Saturday and Sunday. And then we have a Friday networking mixer for everybody as well. We have platinum. So this is where you get special networking access. So we have special events for platinum. We have a special workshop. It's just a smaller group of people. We sell out every year for platinum, and it's just more curated networking time. And then VIP, which is honestly the best ticket we have available. Last year we rented out the CN Tower. This year we've got a black tie event at the Art Gallery of Ontario. You get more access to the speakers. Like, it's just nonstop networking. Like you were there last year. Yeah. Like, there's some pretty cool people in the room. So VIP is definitely the best ticket, and we sell out every year. So it's pretty special.
And I would say, people that are listening to this show, if you want to be anywhere and you want to meet people who are investors that have money to lend you, think about doing something, or you want to partner up, or you're looking just to get involved in real estate, this is the one place that you want to be, because there is massive networking opportunities.
Oh, huge. We should start tracking how many. I wish there was a way we could track how many deals happen at the conference, because I get messages all the time from people. Like, we have people showing up at the conference who exited a company and they're looking to invest with somebody in real estate. Mm-hmm. So, like, millions of dollars. They're coming looking for people. People are looking for partnerships. They're looking for deals. They're looking at to do a joint venture with something. Like, there's so much potential there, for sure.
How can people find the multifamily conference if they want to purchase a ticket? Is there a website they could go to, or how can they find it? Or are you going to give me a link and they can just log on and boom, get their tickets?
Yeah, we're going to get you set up with your affiliate link, and then they'll just click that special link, and they can just buy their tickets. And what we do is we want to reward action takers. So the price goes up very consistently every couple weeks. So you don't want to wait with this stuff, especially with VIP or platinum, because they always sell out. So you always want to make sure you buy your ticket cheaper rather than more expensive right before.
Yeah. And I'm one of those guys, I'll admit, I saw it last year. It was $4,000.
Yeah.
And then I waited, I hemmed, I hawed about it. Do I want to go? What am I going to get out of this? And by the time I pulled the trigger, it was $5,000.
Yeah.
And I complained to her. I go, I just saw it last week at $4,000. She says, well, it went up to $5,000. I said, well, can you talk to Seth? I'm like, that's the price. It goes up. So I got stuck paying the $5,000. So I'm not doing that this year.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you learned. And some people, it's kind of funny. They'll send messages, be like, "Oh, I thought you were full of shit." It's like, no, like it is what it is. And yeah. So, and with VIP, like, every year we've done it, it's always sold out. So it's more just like for numbers and planning, and we know who's there, because like we want to track who's in VIP. Just because we can make some introductions to people and stuff too. So the sooner we get that filled, the better.
And I have to say, I'm really happy to hear that you're adding tables for the VIPs, because last year I'm sitting and I got the notepad on my lap. I'm trying to write. So thank you for putting the tables there for the VIPs. That's good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like every year we're trying to make it better. And like there's some things like we have a full-time team that works on this conference all year round. Yeah. And there's always things that it's like, oh, why didn't we think of that? And the tables was one of the things. It's like why didn't we think of putting tables for the VIP? So we fixed that for this year. So we're always making tweaks.
Do you ever think of maybe in your exhibition area, because you have the exhibitors area, maybe having like a podcast booth? and having different people doing podcasts and interviewing people. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the ideas on the drawing board
cool.
right now. And one of the things we want to do for this year is have a huge networking lounge. So right smack dab in the middle. And we're actually expanding. So this year we've got Hall C as well. So it's like 170,000 or 180,000 square feet. It's a big space. So we're doing a huge networking lounge right in the middle. So we'll have tables, couches. So that's the place where everybody will congregate to, hey, meet me here in this part kind of thing. But yeah, in terms of podcast, we're looking at all sorts of different stuff in terms of just engaging people, like creators like yourself who have podcasts, like that's perfect. Right. So yeah, we're trying to make this like even better.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this year's event. That's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah,
and especially the black tie at at the Art Gallery. That's a nice little.
You always come in nice suits. So yeah, like I'm looking to see what you're rocking at the black
I've got a
tie.
few more. I actually had my tailor on a few episodes ago.
Nice.
And he brought it's so funny. He brought his suitcase of fabrics. And I said, what's coming up for next spring? And he flipped open his platelet of Ariston fabric, and it was like the first one I looked at. I said, "Oh, that's really nice." I said, "I think I got to order that." And after the show, I said, "Socks, order me that one." He's actually delivering. He brought the first fitting. The suit fits amazing.
Nice.
It came out so nice. I did it in a double breast. And he just had to do a couple little tweaks, and he's actually dropping it off to me tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited for that. And then it's so funny because he knows every time he drops one off, I go, "All right, let's make up another one. Show me your palettes."
Yeah. Well, okay. Question: would you go for a black tie event? Would you go shawl for your lapels, or like what kind of lapels would you do? Shawl, peaked, shawl or peaked?
I have two tuxedos, and they're both a nice peak. The lapels at nice peak.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think I'm keep telling my fiance that I'm going to get do another tux. I'm kind of feeling the Sean Connery with like the shawl.
Let me connect you with my tailor. Guy's amazing. I think we talked at the CN Tower.
We did. I'm a loyal guy though. I love my guy.
Okay, all right.
I love he's taking really good care of me.
Then stick with him. He takes good care of you because he's got all your measurements. Because I could call Socks up and say, I need a couple tuxedo shirts.
Yeah.
He's got all my measurements, no problem. What do you want? What kind of buttons? You want your name on it? It's done. He has everything in his phone.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, actually, funny story. So for the first conference we did, my guy hand delivered my suit like right before the event started because like we were there at the venue and there was some delay and stuff because we had to make some last minute tweaks. So he drove all the way to the venue to hand deliver the suit. So
that's service. That's the bespoke service.
That's right. Yeah. You get what you pay for.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you also teach.
Yeah.
You have a course and you teach people how to finance and find these deals. You want to just talk about that? It's a plug-in, how people can find and get your course?
Yeah, for sure. It's called the Apartment Accelerator. And where that really came from was, again, like my own frustration looking for help with this kind of stuff when I was learning, and I didn't really find it. So basically with Apartment Accelerator, it takes you from ground zero, being a brand new beginner, all the way through to getting your first deal done. So we walk through everything. And we've had some good success through the program. Some really cool stories. Last year at the conference, we had a couple students pop up. But yeah, it's pretty cool because you take somebody who is just starting out. They have a lot of fire, but they don't have the knowledge yet. And it's so rewarding to see them go through the whole process and like walk properties, get their deal done. It's really, really cool. So if you're interested in that, just go to theapartmentaccelerator.com and you can sign up and for a call and we'll see if it's a good fit.
That's awesome. I just want to kind of touch on some personal life. So,
Yeah.
So what people don't know is you were a professional referee, a hockey referee.
Oh man, yeah, I'm all washed up now. So I'm all washed up. But back in the day, that was my passion. And to be honest, if I could make that my full-time job, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Really?
Oh man.
So did you do NHL games?
No. So I got up to doing some pro leagues in the States, but no, I never made it to the NHL. A lot of the guys I worked with in the OHL are turn on the TV. It's like, oh, that's so-and-so. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, my journey with hockey went down to the States for a year, lived out of a suitcase, East Coast, West Coast, North, South, all over. it was a lot of fun, right? And then came back here to Ontario, worked the OHL for I think 9 years. I was doing that. Got to see players like McDavid on the ice, Max Domi, Taylor Hall, like
all the guys coming up,
all those guys. Like,
Good.
and just McDavid was unreal.
He's unreal now.
Unreal. Yeah, but it was so cool to do. And then when my son was born, I packed it in because driving 4 hours in the middle of the night was not fun anymore. So,
Yeah. And another thing you have a passion for is you play the bagpipes.
oh man, yeah. Did Katie send you the embarrassing bio? Is that what happened?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my son goes to St. Andrews
Oh, cool.
in
Okay,
Aurora.
nice.
So,
yeah.
so I told him, I said, buddy, you know, I'd love for you to learn to play the bagpipes. Like, that is just so cool.
Yeah, it is a cool instrument. And when I was younger, I played a little bit with this like Celtic kind of band that toured around a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We had a drum kit, we had guitar, obviously bass, and then bagpipes. It was a lot of fun.
How hard is it to play?
I play a whole bunch of instruments. Bagpipe's hardest instrument out of all of them because it's really physical, right? You need the stamina because you gotta like squeeze the bag. The joke is you gotta blow finger and squeeze for 20 minutes without stopping. So that's why pipers are the best lovers in the world. So that's the joke. But yeah, so it's very physical instrument. So it's not like you're playing the flute or something where it's just technique. It's physical plus you have the musical talent.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So just to wrap it up,
Yeah.
if there's one piece of advice that you could give to our younger generation, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say think bigger.
Yep.
Think bigger and actually do it. Because, you know, I remember in my 20s, I had so many big ideas, I just never did it. And I kicked myself. And what I've learned now is if you have a big idea, like the conference is a perfect example. You have a crazy idea, we fucking made it happen. Like it's just
Execute.
yeah, just do it.
Yep.
And if you have the bigger idea, the bigger idea you have, the more other people will get excited about it and want to help you. So, you know, with the conference, I'm fortunate. I had a big idea. We launched, and the support, like, it wouldn't happen without the support of so many people. Well, even you came, like that's huge support, right? People who buy tickets, the sponsors, the people who help out behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff. So the bigger your idea, the better it's going to sell, and just go big.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great advice.
Yeah.
So you're active on social media. Why don't you give us how people can follow you on Instagram or
for sure. So with YouTube, we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos about real estate investing on YouTube. So just go youtube.com/Seth Ferguson. Best way to find me. And on Instagram, the handle Seth Ferguson Official because somebody stole Seth Ferguson. So we had to add official at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Seth, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great. Yeah.
I learned more about multifamily, and I hope our listeners did too. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening in. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Johnny.Durbano. You can find us on YouTube, Wealth Eazy Show, also on Spotify. So please be sure to subscribe and share with others. Take care of your health and take care of your wealth.